Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's advanced class here at SEDA College Online. I'm your teacher, Lydia, and I'm so happy to be with you. So while we give some time for everybody else to join us, I just want to remind you to make sure you have your notebook, make sure you have a pen, and maybe you might want a highlighter, something to make the important points noticeable, make them jump out at you. And you might want to have a great attitude because remember, attitude is everything. You guys are doing such a great thing being here with me today. You are taking responsibility for your learning. You're pushing yourself to grow and develop your English, and I'm super proud of you. So, good job. I also want to remind everybody that we have amazing things available at SEDA College Online. And for subscribers, you can see even more stuff. We have great videos all over YouTube for free, and we also have our amazing podcast on Spotify. So if you haven't checked out any of those things, please do so. The other thing I want to remind you of is that comments are so important. Guys, make some comments while you're here with me in the live class so that I can respond to you and answer your questions. That is part of my job, and that's one of my favorite things about teaching is interacting with you, the students. And because we're not in the same room physically, we got to be in the same room virtually. So please make comments and let me know you're here with me so that I can work with you, okay? So I think it's time for us to get started. Welcome everybody again. I'm teacher Lydia. If it's your first time here at SEDA College Online live class for advanced, then I'm so happy you decided to join us. And for people coming back, we love you and you keep us going and you keep us strong. So everybody, let's start together. Okay, next. When to use gerunds. All right, we're talking about when to use gerunds today. And it's important to remember that sometimes we can use a gerund or we can use to plus infinitive in certain situations. In the last lesson I did yesterday, we talked about the different parts of a sentence and we talked about using to plus infinitive, okay? So now we're extending it and when to use gerunds. And there's 5 different situations we're going to talk about in this video, okay? So make sure you're taking your notes right now to help your memory and studying, all right? So this is example number 1. You can use a gerund as the subject of a sentence or clause. So if you're talking about doing that action in general, all right? So we have some great examples here. Cycling is good for you. The subject of the sentence is cycling, the action of cycling. We don't know when we're doing that. That's not important. We don't know how we're doing it. That's also not important. You could talk about that in a different way. We're just talking about cycling in general, and cycling is the subject, so therefore we're using it as a gerund. If we said to cycle is good for you, that would be wrong, and that would be uncomfortable to the ear of a native speaker. So cycling is what we're looking here. Cycling is good for you. Great. Guys, if you got that and you understand that, awesome. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments. That's what I'm here for. All right, so the next example, we're talking about when you have to sign paperwork. Maybe you're getting a new job. Maybe you're buying a car. Maybe you're buying a house. Whatever it is, there's some important legal document and you need to sign it. So we're talking about it in general. We don't know what the paperwork is. We don't know when you're doing it, but it is the subject of the sentence. So we're using the gerund with the verb part, sign. When signing paperwork, always read it first. That's a very good rule. Always do that. Even if you just skim it quickly, make sure you read it and look for anything that's strange. All right. Next one, the next example. The main subject is swimming. Swimming, the sport of swimming, or the exercise or the enjoyable activity of swimming. If swimming is your favorite sport, you can join a gym to practice in winter. A lot of gyms have pools, so great. You can practice all year round. Swimming is the subject. We don't know who is doing it. We're just saying you in general. We don't know when it's happening, and that's not important, but because we're talking about swimming in general, okay? So number one time to use gerunds is as the subject of a sentence or clause. Remember, a clause is slightly smaller than a sentence. All right. So before we move on, everybody take 1 minute to write your own sentence where the gerund is the subject of the sentence. Some activity in general with no time or place, all right? I'm going to give you 1 minute as usual. We're going to have some great music. And it's chill. It's relaxing. Although I'm full of energy, I like a nice, calm, beautiful vibe, okay? And that's what we're going to have. Let's get our music together. Gonna go with Chopin again. All right. So take a moment to think about an activity. Take that verb, put it in the gerund form, and use it as a sentence. You have 3 examples here. You start with the verb in the gerund form and say when, then the gerund, or if, then the gerund. 3 easy examples for you to follow, okay? This is not the chillest Chopin song. There we go. Take your time, guys. I know you can do this. And I want to give you some more important words of wisdom. Everything is okay. You are doing great. You are studying, you're doing something good for yourself, and that is amazing. Okay? You can do this. Write a sentence for me, put it in the comments. My coffee's cold now, but better cold than nothing. Okay, let's see what you guys came up with. What did you come up with? Let's take a look. Did you use it first? Did you use a when plus the verb? Did you do an if plus the verb? Let's see what you did. Guys, awesome. It's so good. You're doing so great. Listen, this is the first example. You got it down. You're doing great. Let's move on to the next time to use gerunds. Because remember, we have 5 different situations. All right, when to use gerunds? 2. After a preposition. Now, does everybody remember prepositions? They're words that separate other words, right? Make a transition. So they don't stand alone. We have to, after, before, in, out, into, besides, lots and lots of different prepositions. So let's take a look at some of our examples. She went to the supermarket after going to the pharmacy. So after a preposition, we have the preposition after, and then we have going to. We have to as well, but the going there is in the gerund form. She went to the supermarket after going to the pharmacy. All right. Next example. He carried on listening to the radio after the news was over. Okay, so we have this verb, phrasal verb carry on, and after that, after the preposition, we need to have a gerund. We can't say carried on listen. We have to say carried on listening. Carried on listening to the radio after the news. Oh, that should have been news was over. Gotta go back. After the news was over. Okay, so as usual, teacher Lydia has a little mistake in her slides, and it's always good if you notice it before me. If you got that, good job. You're on top of your game, my friends. Alrighty, after a preposition, that's the second example of when we can do it. So as usual, take a minute, Come up with a sentence of your own, okay? 1 minute, starting now. Let's go. Two examples you can use to help you. She went to the supermarket after going to the pharmacy. He carried on listening to the radio after the news was over. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see what you got. Yep. It looks like everyone's getting it. Great. Okay. When to use gerunds, part 3. Okay. You can take a verb and add it to the gerund. Verb plus gerund. Okay. And there's some specific verbs that I've isolated for you in the next slide so you know how to do it. Examples. I love singing in the shower. So after you say I love, I like, or I hate, I dislike, you're going to have a gerund because you're talking about that action in general with no time or place. Okay? I love singing in the shower. Well, you have a place in the shower, but no time. I don't know when. Anytime I'm in the shower, I love singing. He admits giving Bob the money. Okay? Maybe Bob got some money he shouldn't have got. So he, the main subject here, admits giving Bob the money. Admit is conjugated properly plus the gerund. Okay, so verb plus gerund. All right? People dislike delivering bad news. In general, most people do not like giving bad news if they're a good-hearted person. Or if they, some people just care what other people think, so they don't want to be the bad guy. But sometimes you gotta give bad news. Nobody should like it, but sometimes you gotta do it. People dislike delivering bad news. Okay, so this time I'm gonna say the sentences again for a little bit of speaking practice for you. I want you to repeat after me, okay? I love singing in the shower. Yes. He admits giving Bob the money. You got it. People dislike delivering bad news. Yes, that's it. That's it, my friends. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the specific verbs that you would use number 3 with, okay? When to use gerunds 3, continued. These are verbs that often follow the verb plus gerund rule, okay? So we have admit, can't stand, finish, practice, advise, deny, keep, suggest, allow, dislike, mind, waste, avoid, enjoy, miss, can't help, fancy, and permit. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples here. Gave you Bob, or he admits giving the money to Bob, so we got to admit done. Can't stand. Do you remember what this means? This means something really annoys you, really pisses you off. It is not okay with you. So you can say, I can't stand waiting in queues at the doctor's office. Nobody likes waiting in queues at the doctor's office, so hopefully this works for a lot of people. I can't stand waiting in queues in the doctor's office. So I didn't say to wait in queues because that's not correct. After can't stand, I need the gerund. I can't stand waiting. I can't stand what else? I can't stand waiting in queues in the airport. That's horrible too. Waiting in queues is just never fun. Waiting in a queue or a line is always a pain. And before smartphones, it was actually worse. So I can't stand waiting in queues. Finish. When somebody is in the middle of the action of eating dinner still, and everybody has to get out the door, maybe you have to go somewhere, then you have to say, finish eating your dinner. We have to go. Okay, so after finish, it's finish doing something, infinitive. So that do is also in the gerund form, finish doing something, all right? I said infinitive meaning like the basic form. After finish, it's going to be doing something. You finish doing something, all right? Practice. Practice speaking English, right? We don't say practice to speak. We don't say practice speak, we say practice speaking English. Practice writing in English. Practice reading in English. Practice listening to English. Yeah, awesome. So then we have advise here with the S, but sounds like a Z. Advise. Advise here is to give someone advice or guidance. So advice with the C is the actual thing, information that you're telling them. Advise is the action of giving it to them. You could say, I don't advise going to the supermarket after 5 p.m. and before 7 p.m. Usually it's the biggest time, busiest time in the supermarket. Okay, deny doing something. So after deny, it's usually almost always a gerund, right? These are our rules. There's always exceptions because it's English. But, you know, this is a general rule. So guys, what are you going to do now? What do you think? You're going to practice. You're going to write me one sentence using the rules from number 3 on when to use gerunds and put it in the comments. You got it. You can do it. You guys got something for me? Cold coffee is better than no coffee. All right, let's check. Let me see what you guys have put in the comments. Very, very nice. Good work, people. Happy to see that. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. When to use gerunds. When to use gerunds, number 4. All right. Sometimes we take a verb and we add a preposition and then we add a gerund. And you're going to say, teacher, this is crazy. Why are we doing math? Listen, people, I don't like it any more than you do, but I'm trying to help you, trying to give you some kind of formula to help you understand. And remember, Once you get used to it, you're not even going to be thinking about the formulas. You're just saying it, okay? So, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Example, we've got looking forward. That's the first verb here. Then we got the preposition to. And then we got another verb in the gerund. Gerund, okay? So, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And when do we usually say that? That's right, at the end of an email, often when we're applying for a job. Very good. Okay, next example, verb plus preposition plus gerund. Grandma is asking about visiting you. So maybe I'm on the phone with Grandma and I'm talking to my brother and I'm saying, Grandma is asking about visiting you. So be prepared because she wants to visit you, okay? And do not say no to Grandma. You don't say no to Grandma. Not okay. All right? So, asking is the first verb, and that happens to be in the gerund. Okay, then we have about here, the preposition. And then we have visiting, the final gerund, in the complicated formula that makes English. Blows your brain, right? I know. It's crazy. All right, last example. Are you ready? Can you handle it? Okay, good. I knew you could. She doesn't feel like going out, okay? She doesn't feel, so we have a verb conjugated in the present, then we have a verb in the infinitive, then we have a preposition, verb preposition, gerund. Hello. She doesn't feel like going out, okay? She doesn't have to have a reason. She doesn't feel like it. Leave her alone. Get over it. Okay, guys, I hope you're following. I know I'm a little crazy right now. I think this is my second cup of coffee this morning, or today. So, yeah, it's not the morning anymore. So, yeah, it's really important that we go over these examples and you give me questions in the comments. Tell me if this is confusing, guys. I totally get it. It's totally cool. But I can't help you unless you tell me. Help me, help you. All right, my friends. Now, as usual, there's some examples of verbs that go along with example number 4. So, when to use gerunds, part 4, continued. Verbs that often follow the verb plus preposition plus gerund rule. Accuse of. So, if you say you're a lawyer and you're in court, defending your client. You can say, my client was accused of harming the person that he loves the most, which he would never do. Okay? Harm. It's like to hurt. You can say, my client was accused of nothing more than trying to protect herself. Okay? So you're trying to defend your client. Agree with. Agree with. You can repeat after me. Agree with. How are we going to get Grandma to agree with us about going to the cinema? How are we going to get her to agree with or agree to? A lot of times to. How are we going to get Grandma to agree to going to the cinema? Apologize for. You apologize for doing something. I apologize for hurting your feelings. Ask about. Ask about doing something, seeing somebody, talking to someone. Believe in. Believe in helping others. Be used to. I'm used to cleaning the house. Blame for. Don't blame me for doing that. Care for. I don't care for reading in the morning. Carry on. Complain about. I'm giving you time to repeat after me. Concentrate on. Concentrate on doing your homework, okay? I don't want any more of this conversation. Depend on. Dream about or dream of. Feel like. Forgive for. Give up. Insist on. Keep on. Look forward to. Object to. Think of. Succeed in. Use for. If you practice with SEDA College Online, you will succeed in improving your English. Great. Okay. So, as usual, take 1 minute, make a new sentence for me. You got this. I can't wait to see your sentence. Okay, almost 1 minute finished. All right, what you got? What you got for me? That's right, guys. You're doing great. You're warming my little teacher heart. So next we have number 5, of when to use gerunds, and we're finishing it, okay? When to use gerunds, number 5. Sometimes you can take a word and add either an infinitive or a gerund, okay? And sometimes it has the same meaning, sometimes it has a different meaning. I can't tell you when what, because there's not like a clear rule for that, but I can help you out, all right? So, examples. Number 1. First example with underline is always the to plus infinitive. So, I started to watch TV. Then the next one, gerund, I started watching TV. Here, they could have the same meaning depending on the context. So say, I came home this afternoon and I started to watch TV. All right, you came home, then you watched TV. I started watching TV this afternoon. That might mean you never watched TV before in your life, and you began watching TV this afternoon, okay, for the first time. So there could be a slight difference in meaning there depending on the context. Context is everything, okay? Number 2, he began to understand the lesson. To plus infinitive, he began understanding the lesson. So if you said, he began to understand the lesson, it means maybe he was in, there studying before and he was a part of the class, but he didn't get it. And then in that moment, he had some epiphany and he began to understand the lesson. The next one, he began understanding the lesson. There was a comma right after began. He began understanding the lesson. That would mean, so punctuation is really important here, that would mean that he already understood the lesson before they started. He began with that understanding of what the lesson was about, so it wasn't new to him. Okay? But no comma, he began understanding the lesson could mean the same thing as the first part. Okay? So context is key. Punctuation is powerful. Make sure you pay attention to those things. Commas, periods, colons, semicolons. Guys, if you're not sure about using punctuation in English, and that's something that you would appreciate me doing a lesson on, please let me know in the comments, because I could do a whole lesson on punctuation. I'm going to do a writing series in a week or two, 3-part writing series on writing really well. So I think, punctuation might go along really well with that. If you're interested in it, let me know. Put it in the comments. Okay? So, when to use gerunds 5. These are examples that often follow the word plus infinitive or gerund rule. So, he attempted to do something. He attempted doing something. That could work. Both of those could work. I cannot bear to see her suffer. I cannot bear suffering. Okay? That is a slightly different meaning. If I say I cannot bear suffering, I'm talking about my own suffering. If I say I cannot bear to see, I'm talking about something separated from myself. So I'm distancing myself from that situation. Hate. I hate to see, or I hate seeing. That could be the same thing. Prefer. I prefer to go to a restaurant. I prefer going to a restaurant. Same meaning there. So context and punctuation are so important, guys. Okay? Super, super, super important. Begin. Cease. Now, cease is an important word you may not know. That means to stop. So cease. He ceased to visit her home. He ceased visiting her home. Could mean the same thing. Maybe they got in a fight. He didn't want to see her anymore. All right? Intend, start, bother, continue, and love. So, as usual, I would like you to practice now. It's your turn. This is our last exercise. I want you to try to write one sentence using each one of the 5 examples of when to use gerunds, okay? And share with me in the comments. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and if you can't get all 5 different examples, that's okay. Just try your best. I'll leave this up here for you. 1 from each of the 5 examples. If possible, do your best, and then when I say time is up, then you can just share your comment, however many you have, okay? Let me put the timer on for 2 minutes. You can do this, guys. Check your notes. See everything you wrote down. Put up whatever you can in the comments for me, okay? I'll go back and review for you while you're practicing. So number 1, remember we can use a gerund as the subject of a sentence or a clause. Cycling is good for you. When signing paperwork, always read it first. If swimming is your favorite sport, you can join a gym to practice in the winter. When to use gerunds 2, after a preposition. She went to the supermarket after going to the pharmacy. He carried on listening to the radio after the news was over. 3. Verb plus gerund. I love singing in the shower. He admits giving Bob the money. People dislike delivering bad news. Okay, examples of verbs you would use number 3 with. When to use gerunds 4. Verb plus preposition plus gerund. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Grandma is asking about visiting you. She doesn't feel like going out. Verbs to use with that. Number 5. Word plus infinitive or gerund. Same or different meaning. Depends on the context, right? Punctuation is also super important here, okay? I started to watch TV. I started watching TV. He began to understand the lesson. He began understanding the lesson. Examples of verbs that follow rule for number 5. All right. Let's see what you got, people. Let's see what you got. I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to spend some more time here. I'm going to spend probably another 2 or 3 more minutes here checking all of your comments, the sentences you came up with, interacting with you guys. Don't go away. I'm still here to interact with you after this lesson, okay? So if you need something from me, ask me now, okay? Thank you guys so much for joining us here at SEDA College Online for this live class. Thank you for spending the time with me. I'm your teacher, Lydia. I really appreciate you. Stick around. I'm going to stay around for the comments, but have a great day. Bye.